Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew First Culture podcast. This is Jeremy, and very, very excited to get into this episode today because I am able to do one of my favorite things and share that with you all, and that is talk to my good friend Ric Jorge. How are you, Ric?
I am better than I deserve, bro. I really
That's
am.
right. Man, I'm gonna probably struggle with words here or there just because I feel like there's not a lot of words I can properly give to some of these things I'm thinking, but I finally got to meet you in person a couple weeks back in Florida, and that was an awesome thing. And some other good stuff came out of that day that we're going to get into. But definitely one of the highlights of my trip. I've talked and texted and chatted with you for years, it seems like, but never actually physically been in the same room with you. But that was great because you're truly somebody that I could say means a lot to me.
Thank you, brother.
I'm struggling with the proper weight of that statement, but the cool thing is anytime I post anything about you, there's always somebody that tags on a comment or reaches out to me behind the scenes that says, hey man, you're right on. Ric did so and so for me, or he reached out and helped a brother on our department, whatever it is. And it's just amazing to see the reach that you have and the good that you have done, with what you have. And so I just wanted to throw that out there first. I really appreciate you and all that you do and your team. And so anytime I get a chance to sit down with you, I'm super excited and love it.
I love that. Thank you very much. But I want to get the context right. Yes, I do those things, but God's got his fingerprints all over that. And don't be rolling your eyes at me out there in internet land. All right. That's just honest to God's truth. I was a godless man for a long time. I was a heathen, however the hell you want to describe it. And nobody does that kind of work unless it's God's will and God's work. And he opens the door. So we have this saying that, if God brings you to it, he qualifies you. He opens these doors. These people don't come to me to ask me for things because it's Ric Jorge does this. No, that's just God has put certain events in my life and he's allowed me to talk about things and experiences and stuff. And he gets that glory, not me. Ric Jorge don't get that. I know Ric Jorge and he don't impress me one fucking bit. Okay. So I just want to throw that out there right away because I know this is going to lead into some of the topic that we have on brew for today.
Absolutely. But on that same thought, I think it's very important as well. We can just rabbit hole this to death all day, but you say that, but there's a lot of people out there that have great stories like yourself. There's a lot of people that have had tough backgrounds, but have been given opportunities by God that haven't taken advantage of that. They haven't shared their story. They haven't used those harder times in their life to bless and add value to others. They haven't taken advantage of those hard times. And so I think I appreciate you bringing that up because obviously that's a part of all this. That is all of this. It's the plan. It's the plan that we have nothing to do with except for just being a part of it, and hopefully we're going along the best we can. But the choice is ours, what we do with that. And right. Man, I'm telling you, there's a lot of people out there that are hurting a lot more than they should because other people aren't sharing their stories with them. You know what I mean?
I do.
They aren't blessing the people they care about by letting them know they're not alone. Hey, I've been through this too, or I've not been through this, but let me tell you where I've struggled and how I dealt with some things. That type of thing is a big deal that doesn't need to be overlooked. If you have been through some stuff, which I'm assuming pretty much everybody has, there's somebody out there that needs to hear that. And so again, going back to you, you have that option. You have that option of you are coming from a bad place. You've worked yourself through it, years and years of pain and struggle and challenge to get to a good place now. And you could be done. You could be like, I'm good. I don't need to talk about it anymore. I'm fine. And that's all that matters. But nobody else is benefiting from that. And so it's really powerful to think of those two scenarios. You as just checked out and you're good because you're good, and you as who you are right now, who is doing something with that, just the impact that you are able to make outside of yourself. It's bigger than you. You are here for a purpose, and you are striving to pursue that purpose. That is what we all need to be right there, is truly taking advantage of what we've been given. So I just wanted to add that. Yeah, it's a big piece of all this for sure.
True. I get it.
So
and we
today,
could pursue that all day long, but keep
oh,
going. Keep going.
Well, I don't care where we go.
It's all tied together. We'll circle back to this.
Oh yeah. But I kind of talked to Rick before, or really setting this up. Just I wanted to talk about community. I wanted to talk about connection. Connection is kind of the word I use. Community is what he likes to use better. I don't care what it is. It's the relationships that we build and maintain, and just it's everything really for me. Just speaking personally, it's everything, and that is really something I guess it's so important, and I'm so passionate about it right now because it's something I've really learned here in the past year or so at work, at the firehouse, how important relationships are. A lot of people lead with the thought of, once I'm a formal leader, I kind of got to separate myself and blah, blah, blah. And it's just sad. It's a sad thought that how much you're leaving on the table by not investing in those relationships. So anyway, I don't want to talk a lot. I want to hear you talk, but what is just throwing it out there to kind of get going? What is community? What is connection? What does that mean to you, Rick?
So it's everything. Let me mute this conversation that I'm on this group chat. I got to mute these guys. So I got my phone on for a reason, boys and girls, because I'm married. And if my wife texts me and I don't text back or answer the call, I'm in deep doo-doo. Okay.
That's going to get me in trouble too. So don't do that.
We all got a boss, yeah. Some of us got more than one boss, but, so, I grew up, the way that I grew up was, I was very insecure, low self-esteem. I didn't have a lot of confidence in myself. And then the few times that I did try to walk out on it, I got pretty much crushed. And so you start learning to be cautious in your life growing up and try not to attract attention to yourself, go under the radar and all this stuff. And then I realized that didn't work. And sometimes it was worse that way. So there's a lot of stuff. That's my foundation. Okay. And it ain't from a bad family or anything like that. It ain't like that at all. I had a great family. Still do to this day. Very, very supportive, very close family. I don't know why I did the things I did. So when people tell me, why do you think they do that? I look at them, I go, I don't know. Maybe there's lessons that they have to learn. I know clearly that was the case for me. I don't try to put everybody into that same box because I don't know, man. I mean, I got my hands full with my own damn life, trying to figure out somebody else's life. Just, it's not smart, nor is it possible. So as I start to go through these things, and it's a lot, it's from drug dealing and smuggling and collecting money and beating people up and hurting people and home invasions and all this. And I finally get sober, and I don't have a God because I grew up Catholic and they jammed that down my throat. And I was like, yeah, no, that ain't happening. And just not my God. If that's what God is, I'm out. And not that the Catholic religion is wrong. right? It's like the fire service. Look at the fire service.
Oh yeah.
We got good firemen and we got POSs, you know, you got leaders and you got managers, and there are those that can't lead a dog on a leash, you know? So it's the same everywhere. So when I say that, you know, it's across the board when I make comments like that. So I blow off the Catholic religion, and in the process, I leave God in the dust. And so I grow up and I do all that stuff that I mentioned. And then eventually one day, because I'm so smart, I figure out, holy free holies, I got this figured out, man. Every time I do drugs or alcohol, I end up in jail, you know? There's a problem here. I end up, you know, the trifecta is I meet a girl and, you know, we go home together, and I get in a fight and I end up in jail. That's the trifecta. That is a complete weekend. I have been successful in my quest. That was my life. And when I got sober, I've been sober, God willing, this will be my 36th year of sobriety. And when I got sober, I realized a lot of the stuff that I was screwing up, and a lot of the stuff I didn't know, and how little of a man I really was, and what I thought a man was really wasn't. So I did a lot of growing up then. I was surrounded, using that as an example, when I would go to meetings, these 12-step meetings, when I would go, I'm surrounded by other people that are trying to do better with their lives. And there's a roadmap. It's called 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, right? So I'm learning, unbeknownst to me, I am surrounded, I am immersed in a community that is trying to do better with their life. I'm like, I just thought it was cool that we weren't out causing crime sprees anymore, you know, and that we're actually got real jobs and stuff, and that I don't have to do drugs or drink to be the kind of man that I want to be, because I was so insecure before that the alcohol and the drugs allowed me to be anything I wanted to be, you know, and I was damn good at it, you know, and it just, unfortunately, it was all illegal. And this is different, is teaching me how to do those things, not just legally, but morally. Now the word moral shows up, and I really, when I look at it, I was living an immoral life. It just meant I was in the absence of morals, morals being anything that is good and right. And so learning all that led me back to believing in God, my God, not anybody else's God, my God. My God happens to be the God of the Bible, God of Jacob, the God of Abraham. Okay, it's Jesus Christ. But I learned that in a Bible study with a group of knuckleheads. There was a couple of firemen in there. There was one of them was retired. There was two cops. One was retired. We had a career criminal that was supposed to have life in prison who was out. He was in our group. We had a judge. We had all kinds of people in this group, and it wasn't like they're telling you what it is. We're debating the Bible and what something means, and so we're tearing it down and coming to an understanding for ourselves, which was very important to me, because I don't really, the way that I teach pragmatically. If you understand why something works, you'll buy into it. If I tell you the science, the theory, the science, and how to do it, and then you experience it, you're like, I'm fucking in. And that's what happened. That's what happened, and that's how it got me in, you know? So that was the beginning, in a nutshell, of how the community and everything came together, because in between all that crap, there was a marriage that was failed, 3 kids. There was a diagnosis with PTSD, suicide ideation. You know, I put a gun in my mouth again. Second time in my life I did that. This time, because I thought I was a coward the first time, and it was clearly just God's voice telling me, it ain't time yet, boy. You know, be a man. Don't be a coward. And the second time, I thought about my kids, and I was like, oh, what? Really? We're going to go back to that. You're going to go back to being that guy, selfish, thoughtless, self-centered, you know, and because it was about me, you know, forget everybody else. And so I learned these things and they stuck with me because they were very valuable. So when it came time to talk about those things, I have a problem with it. See, because I work under a theory. The theory is if somebody else did to me what I do to myself, I'd have to kill them. Because ain't nobody in the world ever hurt me the way I hurt myself. So what's the harm in letting you in? Most of my life was keeping myself guarded. I'm not letting nobody in for nothing because they get hurt. They're not trustworthy, all this other crap. You know what? People are trustworthy up to the point where they're not. And you have to know where people are trustworthy to. You know where people, how far you can trust somebody, it's not about not trusting anyone. And so telling my story, and then I'm listening to guys that are, when I went through my whole, I noticed in the fire service that when we do blackout drills, it gets dicey, right? Guys will freak out, they'll panic. Some people don't go through. So I got, it happened to me when I first put on an old MSA, which it was about this big, the freaking panel to see through. And it had this big elephant trunk, that corrugated tubing that the old MSAs had. And I put that, my eyes were like saucers. I was like, holy shit. It was just one of those holy shit moments, like, holy crap, I feel really enclosed. I'm in the middle, I'm outside, I'm in a huge bay, but I have all this gear on, I'm encapsulated. And I felt claustrophobic. I was like, oh, so I practiced with that stuff. I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew that if I got comfortable doing it every day, eventually I'd get comfortable doing it anywhere. And that's what happened. Well, I tried to explain that to people, but I wasn't very good at it. And then it was the whole PTSD thing that got me started. So divorce was the key. That was the catalyst. So, biblically, there's a lot of really great examples. So in the Bible, they talk about sowing seeds. This guy throws seeds. Some of it landed on the rock. Some of it landed in the dirt. And some of it landed in fertile soil. The stuff that was in fertile soil grew. The stuff that was in the sand grew for a little bit and died. The stuff that was in the rock got eaten by the birds and stuff that took off, never rooted. That's kind of the way that my life is, because that's a representation of our foundation. So my foundation was my family, right? But lo and behold, the woman I thought I was married to, we get a divorce. I don't have a family. My kids are being used as weapons against me. So my foundation is completely shattered. And my whole world starts to fall apart. I think putting a gun in my mouth is the end of it. And it's not because of that. It's because now I can't sleep. I can't control my emotions. I go from one side of sheer joy to the other side of sheer desperation and tears. It didn't matter where I was. I just break down and start crying. You know how fucking emasculating that is for a guy that's a fucking type A personality that thinks that, you know what, if this don't fix it, this will, it's really emasculating. So I got what we call right-sized. I got fucking Ricky Tick. I got fucking right-sized, and I started telling myself I was never any good at any of this and blah, 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 because my foundation was broken. And that's when I realized, oh my God, what do you put all of your eggs in? And that's where my journey for my relationship with God comes in, because it's my foundation now. Everything else gets yanked away. I still got that. And if you don't have that relationship, you don't understand what I'm talking about. And I don't begrudge you if you don't understand it, because that journey has taken me 50 something years to get to. So listen, if you don't get it, you don't believe it, I don't care. That's fine. And I don't judge you for it. And we still be like best buddies, because I know that it's the freaking journey that's important.
Yeah.
All of that shit I went through is how I can relate to people. And if I don't have that connection with you and you're not willing to have it, there's no reason to continue to try to force that, but I will continue to be genuine, right? See, because there's an integrity and an authority that you can speak when you are genuine. And that's really important. I don't talk about stuff I don't know and I haven't experienced. And it just so happens the stuff that I know and I've experienced afflicts a lot of people. And so you wrote it yourself. There is affliction, there is hope, and there's perseverance. And it really is the formula, and in between those, there's a lot of other things. There's humility, there's understanding, there's kindness, there's patience, there's peace, there's love. There's a lot of things that are involved in it. Those are virtues. Those are characteristics of character, and high moral character is what leaders have. You don't have that, you don't have a leader. You may be a freaking smoky, firefighting, knuckle dragging, knockdown, drag down animal, but you're not a true leader, because a true leader can understand what his people are going through. He has a foundation and knows that, okay, I see how that could happen. How do I best help him, her? How do I help them with that? See, because my purpose ain't the fire service. My purpose ain't Ric Jorge working at a freaking treatment facility for uniformed personnel and running groups and helping veterans and cops and firemen and all this other crap. No. And Ric Jorge ain't no damn fireman. Ric Jorge is retired. I got to do all that stuff. But my purpose is very simple. It's servant leadership, period. End of story. I provide a service to anybody and everybody that I can apply my leadership traits to. My leadership being my character, my morals. And it's not morals and values, because morals, all those things that are good and right that are supported by virtues, is what dictates what my values are. If I'm a fucking pirate, guess what? A freaking gun and a sharp freaking blade and a group of guys to go rape, burn, pillage, and loot. That's my foundation. But I'm not a pirate, Although my neighbor does fly a pirate flag, I am not a pirate. And it really comes down to you. A lot of people think it's the external shit, and it ain't. I used to teach roof ops and cutting roofs and flat roofs, pitch roofs, all kinds of shit. And I loved it. We taught search, we did forcible entry, we did rescues, we were big on RIT and Mayday, and I got to do all of that stuff. But what I am talking about is not an external skill set. It's an internal skill set. And that's what we teach in our classes, is the internal skill sets. And a lot of guys have problem. There's this thing, a lot of people think they can multitask. You can't. It's called cognitive flexibility, how quickly you can move back and forth from one to the other. And some people do it so quick, it appears as if they're doing it at the same time, but both sides of the brain can't fire at the same time while you're operating. It doesn't work like that. That's just so what I explain to them is, look, this is a whole different task. The mission is different, but we give them tasks that are fire service oriented. So they think when they go into a maze that they've got to complete it. They don't understand that's not the task. The task is self-regulation. Everything is based off internal. And so when they go in, any of the stuff, any second floor VES through a ladder, same damn thing. It's all internal stuff. How well are you self-regulating to be able to keep your situational awareness together, your decision-making, and your critical thinking? Your pattern recognition, all of this stuff that starts to fall into place. If you can self-regulate and control that and understand that the mindset controls the emotion controls the biology determines the outcome, the biology being which nervous system are you accessing. Sympathetic causes irrational thinking. Parasympathetic causes rational thinking. And the ability to hammer out the pattern recognition, the decision-making, the situational awareness, and the critical thinking. But there's just not a lot of classes that teach that. And that just came from my experience through life and all the freaking hard lessons that I learned, and honestly, my relationship with God was the very last piece, and it was the missing component, because I just felt hollow up to that point. So I was very successful at all the stuff I did, but I was not fulfilled until I had a relationship with God. And that's just me being honest and transparent with everybody. I know there's, there's not, I think there's probably, number one, I'm sober. and I'm bored again. So I got 2 strikes against me in a lot of people's categories. They're like, ah, Jesus Christ, this fucking guy, you know? But the reality is that's just the truth, man. I'm not going to lie to you to get you to believe something that you don't, you know, you either want to believe that or you don't, you know? And that foundation allowed me to seek help from other people, professionals, sports and military psychologists, very reputable and well-known people with a you know, they got a pedigree and they're very well known. You know, they got a rep, they got street cred, and so people would send these people to me because I'm doing these exercises to get better because of the anxiety that I also developed on top of the suicide ideation, and the inability to sleep, and all the PTSD symptoms and shit. And I started doing these exercises. These gentlemen started offering for me to try to get back to whole again, right? On the job and be able to keep a mask on. Other people saw me training like that. They wanted to train with me. And I just thought that was the weirdest shit ever. I'm like, really? You want to do this? Okay, well, but this is how I'm going to do it. And they're like, no, that's cool. They had the same problem I did. They just, none of us wanted to admit it. None of us wanted to say it. You know, what's going on with you? I can't keep my fucking mask on my face, bro. I'm flipping the fuck out. I feel like I don't feel like I'm a fireman anymore. I don't even feel like I fit in, but this is my career. This is what I got, you know? I got 15 years vested in this shit. And I want to go back to construction. I'm too damn old. I got nothing else. All my eggs are in this basket. And so there's finances and all this other shit. My ego is involved and all this other crap, just like everybody else, you know? And so all those things start to come together and we start to do these classes, which just kind of popped up. One of the guys that worked at the college said, dude, you should put this class together and do it at the college. You can get paid for doing this. I'm thinking, money, I'm in. I need some. I'm in an ugly ass divorce. This shit is not going well. I ain't got no damn money. I said, so let's do it. And we did. And they came. It was crazy. We had to put a cap on the class because we were doing 16-hour days, you know, with like 35 students and just me and Bob Carpenter, you know, and it was absolutely burned us out. We brought Dave Gillespie in and that helped, you know, but it was still just so a series of things occurred. And so that just led to, you know, people that were not going through smoke divers. They weren't making it through smoke divers or flames or anything. They're being advised to come and take my class. And I'm like, I don't know why you're here. And then it clicked and I understood why. Smoke divers is a listen, you want to find out where your weakness is, where your flaw is, go to smoke divers. They're going to show you what your weakness is. And there's a reason for that. When you figure out what your weakness is, now you can work on it, develop it into a strength. Then you can go back again. This is the test. Then you go back again to smoke divers and see how well you do. You know, the tests are always arduous and the teacher is always quiet during the test, but you have to prepare for the test, you know? And so they were sending these guys that weren't making it, that thought they weren't good firemen because they couldn't get through smoke divers. And it's just, you can't make this shit up. They just came, you know? And that's why I say, you know, I know Ric Jorge. That man don't impress me one fucking bit, you know? And this stuff, it ain't me, you know? It is some guy that stumbled on how important being transparent is, because what developed next was a community. And that community is what you experienced with the instructors that we have, that we had at Pensacola. The same instructors that are, you know, at MAFC, the Atlanta Fire Conference, same ones that were in Portland during the firemanship conference, the same ones that were down in San Antonio when we did that. And the cadre gets bigger and bigger because there's actually a lot of men with the skill set out there that know once they get exposed to what it is that we're doing, you see that light switch go off and you see that look and they're like, ooh, like, I never thought about that. Holy shit, that makes total sense. And then you watch them immerse themselves in this stuff. You know, it really, is a thing to watch, you know. It, and I don't know if I don't, I see you and I, we recognize it. I just don't know if I'm explaining it well. And then during the podcast, they're going to go, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Is he fucking tripping or what, man? You know, what is in that cigar this fucking guy's smoking, you know? So let me explain that. I've always been a bit of a loner because I really didn't think people would get me. The Goo Goo Dolls sing that song about they don't want anybody to know who they are because they don't think the world would understand. That was me, you know, and I really didn't think the world would understand. And the one thing that I hate is when I'm trying to be genuine and somebody tries to belittle me because old Rick comes back and this comes up and this one's right behind it, and then later on, the self-loathing that occurs because once again I failed at a test, you know.
Yeah.
And it's very frustrating. But what early on, I had been doing this most of my life. So and a lot of the people in your audience will probably go, yeah, I've been doing aspects of that, if not all of that same stuff most of my life, where I really actually enjoyed helping people more than I enjoyed hurting them. I just hurt people because I was going to do it to them before they could do it to me. That was the mindset, you know. And the helping aspect is Wednesday nights. We meet here at my house. I got a fire pit over here, and in the summertime we just meet under the pavilion with the ceiling fans going at about 1,000 million RPMs, you know. And this group of men are men that have been broken, men that have had trials, and they've been close. You know, some of these guys are military veterans, and some are active, some are you know, inactive, some are firemen, some are cops, and they have been through, they understand, and we sit down and it starts at 6 o'clock. I got to run these fuckers out at 10 o'clock and they still going high speed, you know, because what happens, that group, man, you start talking, we're smoking cigars, we're eating, you know, and we're ordering food, and it just, and you see the joy, you see the transparency, the openness, the honesty, the love for each other. These guys will take a fucking bullet for the other guy. They will. There are guys that have been, we've in the middle of the morning, 2, 3 in the morning, the phone call comes in, and we will drive to your house and sit with you while the other one gathers all your weapons and removes them and takes them for safe storage. These are guys that will show up when you've got suicide ideation or you're having relationship problems, you know. One of the guys was missing a ketamine treatment, and one of the other guys took him out, and when he was leaving, he goes, "Hey man, I want to talk to you." And he gave him $120 for the treatment. He says, "You can't miss some treatments." There was a series of events, but very humbling for the one guy, very humbling for the other guy. But that is the connection that you witnessed. That is the connection that we're hoping to steer towards. I just had to lay the foundation for all that crap. And that's what I call that community. So I am involved. I'll give you an idea. When Rick is alone, Rick is in a bad neighborhood. That's a fucking ugly neighborhood when Rick is alone, because I get some ideas that are they're not what a God-fearing man would have, nor is it what a married man would have. And so I surround myself with righteous men. And what I mean by that is guys that are trying to strive to become better versions of themselves. If you're not doing that, man, we could hang out, we go to lunch and all that, but we ain't gonna have no kind of relationship, you know?
Yeah.
And so Monday nights is my Bible study with a group of total freaking knuckle dragging freaking knuckleheads. I mean, it's awesome. And then Tuesday night, I go to a meeting. It's a men's meeting, and about 50 to 75 guys that I know I could call any time of the day for help and would fucking be there in a fucking, I've been going to that meeting for over 30 years, almost 30 years, 28 years. And then Wednesday nights is at my house. And then, and that's my thing, that I'm involved in this because that's my community. Those are my people, you know, and it helps me to live this life that's very difficult to live, you know. It's very hard to walk a righteous life in an unrighteous world, bro. You get ridiculed. Temptation will come at you. You know, the Bible also talks about how the devil roams the earth like a hungry lion looking to devour its next prey, you know, roaring and all that shit. And I look at it like the better that you're doing in life, the harder the temptations come for you. There's always, and people always say, well, there's always somebody looking to knock you down. That ain't true. It ain't somebody. That's the fucking devil. That's his job.
Yeah.
His job is to pull you away from when you're doing the right thing. You know, and his greatest, like I said before, his greatest lie, I told your son, his greatest lie, his greatest trick is to fool you into believing he don't exist, you know, and he does. And anybody who's worked in this line of work has seen evil. They have seen evil. And if you haven't, I don't know where the fuck you work, but you come to work in Palm Beach County, we'll show you evil, you know?
Yeah.
Every place has got that, you know? And if you've seen evil, then there is good. And you're talking about God and you're talking about the devil, man, you know? And it really, everybody has experienced it. It depends on how you want to, you know, categorize it. But that sense of community, you have it when you walk into your firehouse. And if you don't, you need to establish it. If it can't be established, you need to go to another firehouse or recruit other people into your firehouse. You know, that bond, that sense of community, that sense of doing the right shit. You know what I love about the fire service? We're held to a higher ethical standard because people will invite us to the worst day of their life and expect us not to steal all their fucking money, their jewelry, look through their fucking medicine cabinets, you know, shit like that. And we go there to do what? Help total strangers. At times, putting our own lives in peril for them. And we don't know who them is sometimes.
Yeah.
So, you know, it all translates, man. It's all the same thing. And that community is the most important thing. People, this whole thing, man, I've been trying to write this article and I just can't get it out right. This whole medical marijuana thing. There's this big debate in South Florida about medical marijuana. I got my medical marijuana card. And, you know, if I come up to work, you can't hold that against me because, and I'm like, what are you saying? You got a medical marijuana card, so you come to work stoned. Let me tell you something. You got a driver's license too. That driver's license allows you to buy alcohol. You can't come to work drunk. You need to show up ready to go to fucking work. You know, you're either under the influence or you're not. You're either fit for duty or you're not, you know, and, you know, people are, you know, they're going to legalize it here. They're going to fuck everything up because the medicinal values of it are going to be overlooked and it's going to be used for recreational purposes.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people don't understand when they're taking it for anxiety. They don't understand. You smoking cannabis, you smoking a fucking blunt, right? The tetrahydrocannabinol, the THC in that shit causes anxiety. Not in everybody, but it has the potential to cause anxiety. Now, when they extract that, you have just the cannabinoid oil. It will do exactly as the same thing. It will remove the anxiety, but not give you the high. So if you're using it for medicinal purposes, you have to find a very clean source for cannabinoid oil. And one of the places you can look for is under the Bone Frog Foundation. Bone Frog being the designation for a dead Navy SEAL. The Bone Frog Foundation out of Georgia is very strong. Josh and Ben, it's actually Ben is the founder. Josh works there. Very intelligent guys, former military guys, SEAL team and Army Ranger. He is the guy that the sniper, you know, the high value acquisition guy. That's a deadly motherfucker. So, but there's this debate, and I'm like, oh man, it's really, are you just using it to get high? Because you know, because there really is no debate. You're either fit for duty or you're not.
Yeah.
And you know, this is how all this shit started with the back in the day. what was his name? Dennis Leary, Kevin Leary,
Mhm.
Dennis Leary with the LSD. So
The
LSD,
Rescue Me show.
no. This was it was in the 60s. Anyways, LSD 25 is the miracle drug curing depression, even some substance abuse, anxiety, PTSD, traumatic brain injury. It is around the world. They're freaking, and it comes over here and it starts to get abused. So as it gets abused, Nixon in 65 creates a Schedule 1, says the shit's got no medicinal value. Well, it does. And that's why microdosing is coming back and all this other stuff. And that's why medical marijuana is back on the board. But there's always an abuse. It's the same with, pain pills, any of that shit.
Yeah.
But the community is where it's important, because you get other men to support you, and for the women, other women to support you. For me, I don't get involved in commingled groups because I'm a fucking man, and God spelled backwards, the opposite direction is dog. And I am part fucking dog too. So no, I don't go to fucking places that could jeopardize, where it is I'm trying to get to. It don't mean that women are bad. It just means Ricky's fucking bad, Yeah. So let me catch my breath. Tell me something.
You're fine. No, so let me get into this, because it kind of transitions a little bit of where you were headed. You're telling the story of what brought you to creating this community, that you have, the community that means so much to you and does so much for you. And that's what I experienced. I'm somebody that has always been, I pride myself on being a family guy. I love family. They mean everything to me. And so I'm blessed with a job that allows me to kind of live that same life with a second version of that, creating a family away from here and starting that, basically an alternate family at work. And so just that's a little bit of just who I am. But going down and seeing this class, so this class that you put on, you and your cadre put on at North Florida Fire Expo, is 24 hours. Just to give a little background for anybody who doesn't know that, I was given
that's 24 hours straight. There ain't no stop.
Okay, yeah,
8 hours one day.
Very good.
It's
good
24
clarification.
hours straight.
6 a.m. to 6 a.m. But I was given a presentation later that day, so I couldn't stay for the whole thing. I stayed as long as I
really
could,
wish we could have. Most of us wanted to make your presentation too. So
no,
I went both ways.
I totally understand. But I wanted to catch as much as possible, just because I just wanted to experience it. But obviously I went there to meet you. That was one of the main reasons, and to see what else was going on. But I never truly understood the impact that just those few hours would have on my life. And by that, I mean, as that time went, I was there. Everybody was busy, but there was always one or two people kind of out of the scenario. And every time I would see that, I would kind of wander over and just introduce myself and kind of talk a little bit. And man, I met everybody. I didn't have time to really get into conversation with everybody, but several of them I did. And it's just amazing these people, who they are. The Dave Gillespie, your co-author and somebody you've worked with for a long time now. First time I ever met him, and just sitting down and talking with him, and he was digging into, what I wanted to do with speaking and who I wanted my audience to be and all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I've never even thought of these questions before. But I mean, this is somebody that has never known me until just then, and he's digging into me like that. It was just amazing. Sat down with Tuna, Nathan Gardner, for a while, and I told him, I saw him walking back and forth before the day started, and I was like, that dude right there is a fellow back pain sufferer like myself. I could see it in his walk.
8 surgeries. He's had
I
8
know.
back surgeries.
So that just kind of started a conversation with him. Man, so much fun just to talk to him and, listen to, he's a good storyteller. He loves to tell stories, but I was just blown away at how I felt like I've been a part of that group for years, just how they welcome me. And one more thing that I will say before we kind of go wherever with it, but something that is kind of been at the forefront of my mind right here lately is balance and balance in everything, but balance especially in like character traits and qualities and things like that are opposing almost. And that's basically what my presentation was at Florida. But you all exactly embody one of those, and that balance is between strength and vulnerability. You look at those two things, and there's a lot of people that are strong people. I'm not just talking physically, but just freaking iron and rock people. And you look at people that are, they're great at being vulnerable and sharing themselves and all that. But you don't often see those mixed. That's a hard mix to accomplish, but that's
It is.
exactly what you all are doing. One of the first things you do as a cadre is you get up and introduce yourself to everybody, and you give a example of a bad day for you, and you give an example of a good day. That's your thing. And that right there blew me away, because that's exactly what it was. It was these, and I'm telling you, some of them look like they're freaking right off the Navy SEAL, vessel themselves. Just the definition of strength, personally. But to see them be vulnerable and tell these very personal, very painful stories to people that they just literally met. That was it. It was like, man, that's exactly what I am talking about right there. That's the true definition of what I mean by how powerful it is to be able to find that balance between those two contrasting things. And it's an amazing thing to see. It's easy to really see somebody that you feel is strong or you see as strong, and it kind of attracts you to them. You're just attracted to them. But then you see them be vulnerable, and it's like, man, I'm bought in. This is my guy. I don't even know who he is, but this is my guy. And that's how I feel. It's just like, that's my people. That's who I want to be around. And I left that thinking, man, I want to be a part of this. I have nothing to do with this program or these people, but I want to be in this community. I want to be with these people. And so just wanted to share that, and just kind of tell me, is that, I'm sure that's part of your purpose, right? You're laying that out right out of the gate so that your students can see, man, these guys are being vulnerable. And I'm pretty sure even somebody says it, we're doing it because we expect you to do that with us. Is that kind of the mindset going into it?
Yes, that is by design. It's very purposeful. Even the way that we do the introduction is very purposeful. So early on, I got away from telling my story when I would do workshops, and I would just do the workshop on the neuroscience and how we learn and how we can unlearn and all this other stuff. And it was just really clinical. And, you learn stuff, delivery. That was an epic fail right there. So I started to incorporate the story again. And then I wanted to get participation. So I had this idea, and the idea is exactly what you see. So we do the introduction, and the way it's designed is to shift you in the nervous system multiple times, from sympathetic to parasympathetic, sympathetic, parasympathetic, back and forth. And so you'll hear a story from the cadre, and they're being vulnerable. Everybody, listen, if you can't do that, I can't use you. My wife just walked in. Come here, say hello to everybody. Here's my other half.
Hello.
That's Jeremy. Say hello.
Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
And thousands
Pretty
of
good. Nice to
people on
meet
the
you.
internet.
And she's out.
And she's gone. And so if you can't be vulnerable like that, I can't use you, because we're going to a very personal place with these students. They don't even fucking realize it yet. They don't. We ain't fucking asking you to bare your soul, but you're going to, because we're going to get you to that point where everybody is fucking up and everybody's making mistakes and things are going to bubble up to the surface. Back to the vulnerability part. So then we break the class up into companies, and every company sits down and they share the exact same thing with each other. So now you have that bond with the instructor because they've made themselves vulnerable. Now you're going to make yourself vulnerable to the people within your company. But typically 5 people in each company. We usually have 4 companies. We cap the class at 20. And so while they're, excuse me, while they're doing that, there's a series of hormones that are being released. And one of them is the oxytocin, which is a bonding hormone. Okay. And as everybody's doing it, it's not just a bond, but there's a value in it because they see this as a direction of the class. That's serotonin. That's the value hormone. So I'm wondering if there's a fucking fire, because I ain't been hearing nothing but sirens for the last 10 minutes. So in the back of my head, I'm going, I wonder if it's a working structure or not. So that shit don't ever go away, boys. So these guys, when they go, you trying to get through traffic.
I think they're just screwing with you.
You can see in your head what they're doing when they're hitting a siren. They're just clearing
Get out of the way.
The road, right? That's called visualization. That's one of the aspects that we teach. Everybody does it, but we teach them how to do it on purpose. So anyways, now we've created the bond within the group, and these guys are going to stay in this group for a full 24 hours. So they're going to work together. They're going to show each other their weaknesses, their strengths, all that stuff. And hopefully they talk and they work together and they get the bond and they get to know each other and stuff. And it works extremely well, because what we're doing is we're working the ability to be able to connect with others to create a community. So it's a small community within a larger community. And eventually that whole community comes together because they're all going through the same thing. And so that's what breakfast is all about in the morning, sitting down, doing a decompression session at the end of the class, and we talk about what we did, why we did what we did, and all kinds of other stuff. And not everybody in the class walks away with it, but the majority do. This is the youngest class we've ever had. And so what we did not have was a lot of the stuff that comes up with a normal class. So a normal class is typically, there's young guys in there, but there are older guys too. And there are guys that, middle-aged and whatnot. And so we have a very good cross section. This just happened to be
more life experience.
Class. Yeah. And so things that pop up, because we get the body tired. We have to, because we can't recreate life-threatening situations safely. And so what we do is we get them tired, because once you get the body tired, the mind gets sloppy. When the mind gets sloppy, that's when we go to work. And so there's didactics and techniques and stuff that's my alarm system, and techniques and stuff that we utilize to be able to capitalize on this. And so all of those instructors, and yes, we've got Rangers, we've got Marines, we've got firemen, and every one of them has had something dramatic happen to him. We got a guy battling cancer, and I'm elated that he's around to be able to join us in Atlanta again this year. That was Ed. I don't know if you got the chance to talk to Ed. Ed's career, I'll touch on it briefly. He was diagnosed with cancer before he came into the fire service. He's been battling it for over 15 years. And cancer, it's a slow, insidious thing. And that's what it is with him. It started off as thyroid, spreading, and he's struggling. It's affecting his immune system and stuff. But the guy's message and his ability. He was our black water guy. He was our diver who taught black water diving and all this other stuff. And so his techniques with breathing and the mindset and the ability to be able to mentally rehearse things, meditation, grounding techniques, all of these things are extremely vital, especially when guys, they start fucking up. They start thinking, and they go right back. What's the default task? Complete the task, complete the task. That's wrong, you know? And so everything is purposefully designed, and it's very it intertwines so much that it's hard to explain, like the heart rate monitors. We give those out at the beginning of the class and everything. And so all of that is designed so as they're going through the class, we keep asking them when they get jacked up, we know what their maximum heart rate capacity is, and we know the range that we want them in. So when we jack them up on purpose, we ask them, what's your heart rate? And they got a watch that's assigned to them that's linked to the monitor, and they tell us what their rate is. We ask them, what's their maximum heart rate? Where do you feel it? Do you feel it in your temples? Can you hear it pounding in your ears? Do you feel it in your neck? Is your chest burning? Where do you physically feel it in your body? You know, and the reason that is repeated over and over again is because when they leave the class and they go back wherever the fuck they come from, they're gonna find now they're gonna be out in the field, they're gonna be doing the deal, they're gonna be doing the job, you know, they're gonna be doing it. And if they feel that sensation, they'll know I'm encroaching my maximum heart rate capacity. Let's take 2-3 breaths, reset, do a breathing technique, focus, you know, and that's the class. That's it. That's the money shot at the end. That's what you walk away with. So, I mean, there's more, but so Eddie is one of those guys. They all got a story, you know. Robbie's from Portland, Oregon, and his story is interesting too, and the way that he is affecting his department doing this kind of training. You know, it started off small and it's growing. So with his company, now it's his whole department, you know, and it's really cool, because what I'm really glad now that a lot of conferences, instead of sticking us in a hotel, they're giving us an Airbnb.
Yeah.
So now we could sit as a cadre,
stay together,
and bonds even stronger. We go over the material in the manual, and we go through the manual, and we talk and we interject, and then there's breakout sessions, you know, very informal. Well, guys will stay up till fucking 2:00 in the morning talking to each other about the stuff that's going on, and that bond, that community just gets solidified even stronger, man. You know, and that's so important. That is all of the stuff that is purposefully designed to create the ability to just fucking open up, man. Just talk. You ain't got to reveal everything. We ain't asking for your worst fucking day. We ain't asking for your best day. We're asking for a bad day, and we're asking for a good day. You know, and that's just two of the things that is in part of that thing. You know, the rest of it is intimacy. You know, we're creating intimacy within the group, you know, within the class and within the individual, you know, groups. So yes, you're right. That was very purposefully done, and it is by design.
Yeah, and I think it's important to, and I wish, you know, I'm sure you're feeling the same way. I wish that if we could just accurately portray how much this stuff impacts is impactful if you experience it, but it's hard to just verbalize it. But if you see it and you feel it, you very quickly figure that out. But to bring that back to just normal life for everybody else out there is, man, those things are just as important at home. Those things are just as important at the firehouse, to be able to share yourself with those around you. I don't care if you're brand new. I don't care if you're a 30-year captain or chief. It doesn't matter. You have to be able to get to, whether it's a kitchen table or a fire pit, whatever it is. And just like you said, just share, talk to each other, be open, connect with each other, be vulnerable. And it creates that bond that you are going to go to the ends of the earth to fight for this person next to you. And if you don't think that's important as a fire crew to build, I don't understand anything else about what you're thinking, because that's got to be on top of the list. We've got to build that foundation as a crew. And again, like I said, and it probably I struggle with even more myself is doing it at home too.
Yeah.
Showing your kids that it's okay to be vulnerable. Everybody is so concerned about being the strong parent, and I am too. I fight that as
being
well.
the strong parent. That
Yeah.
is being the strong
Yeah.
parent. There's a confusion about what strength
Oh
is.
yeah. But just think
Yeah.
about, showing your kids the example that it's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to share, and it's okay to have challenges and failures, as opposed to not. And them growing up and figuring out, oh man, why didn't dad ever struggle with this stuff? I'm a failure. He was always strong. And that's a bad place to be. That's a bad place to send people you love. So you've got to share those messages as well. So yeah, I think it's so important.
Everybody, and I'm sure there's somebody listening to this is going to go there. It's either them or somebody they know. That guy's a fucking rock. He's a chooch, not a chooch, but he's a douche, right? He's abrasive. He's obnoxious, this and that, but man, he's a hell of a fireman, this and that. And so he gets by on that, right? Till he retires. And when he's retired and he doesn't have that anymore to show how good he is at something, he's fucking lost. And not in a good fucking way. He's lost.
Yeah.
Our suicide rate should be a fucking wake-up call to a lot of people. Not only that, depending on where you get your data, our divorce rate is somewhere between 65 and 82%. The national average, I think, is a little over 50%, 51, 55%, somewhere in there. So we're above that. Not only that, the substance abuse issue too. All of these are maladaptive behaviors. It's not that, alcohol or drugs is bad. It's how you do it. It's why you're doing it. The whole medical marijuana thing. Why are you doing it? See, medications are my belief is Ric Jorge only. Medications are to get you over the hump so that you can come to the solution and work on the solution, because there ain't no fucking easy way out. You got to work, bro. You got to work. And this ain't no YouTube video one and done. This is something you do every day, multiple times throughout the day, until it becomes unconsciously competent.
Yeah.
And it's hard, and there's just not a lot of it, but it transitions into everything that you do. It is discovering the person you are. This is the internal work, because no matter where you go, you take that person everywhere, and if that person is well-rounded, centered, and all that, and you know what, you could teach almost anybody how to get up onto a building and take the top off. You can teach people how to force entry, show them techniques and tricks and all this other stuff to be able to do stuff, that tricks in the trade. But when you leave the fire service, what have you learned? What have you brought with you? And if we're not teaching our people about that, and this is where leadership is failing in the fire service, we have moved away from that. We've moved to this whole thing where like words are more important. Get the fuck out of here. Words are more important. No, who you are and how you develop your character is the most important. Words is just a way to be able to communicate. Now, you do have to articulate things appropriately, okay? But, I'll give you an example, doing away with the word fireman. There are fire departments around the country that are doing away with the word fireman, because it's not all inclusive. Well, you ask the women that I work with, and they'll tell you to go frickin' pound fucking sand. And one of them stated it perfectly. She said, do you know how fucking hard I had to work to be recognized as a good fireman, as a good Jake? She is, you ain't taking that away from me.
Yeah.
This is what it is. It's not, and I'm not putting down the word firefighter. I'm just saying that's an example. There's a lot of things.
We can't say the word manning anymore. We have to say staffing.
Get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me?
I'm serious.
That's just crazy. That's saying that the nomenclature is more important than the structure of what it is you're trying to build.
Yeah.
That may be an ICS thing where they're doing the national thing.
No, it's not. It's
Okay,
not.
I don't
It's
know.
a politically correct thing because it just changed. Yeah.
That's just
But
that blows my mind, bro.
that's, man, I can't agree more. And that's what excites me, you know, with the stuff that I am passionate about. You know, I love training physically and hands-on and things like that, but to find ways that I feel like I'm growing as a person, not just as a leader, but as a person, and learning how to add value to others and being able to help them grow as people. That to me has been the best part about the formal leadership role that I'm in right now. I can control that environment to where we are making it a priority because that's what I feel as a priority. So just to see a crew come together and grow from the inside, you know, yeah, there are lots of great crews that get the job done, and you know, you can count on them. But when they go back to the house, they're, you know, two of them are here, three of them are here, and whatever. Man, to establish a crew that is literally like a family. They love being together. It doesn't matter how different they are, because I've had five people at my station, and I guarantee you every one of us are completely different than each other. You know, there's so many ways that we could really just grind on each other's nerves if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But to find a way to truly build that connection and that family environment and just enjoy each other's company has the effects that alone brings are tremendous. And I don't feel like there's enough people out there investing in that process.
There's and you know what, and sometimes because of where you live, and proximity isn't available, you don't get to hang out with everybody on your crew.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't mean you don't care about them. It doesn't mean you don't stay in touch with them. It doesn't mean that if something happens, you won't be there for them. The caring aspect for them and getting to know who they are and all of that is extremely important. That's what you're here for, bro. That's the fucking rent you pay for walking this earth. You know, it ain't your career. You know, your career is just that. It's a career, you know. But the beauty about our career is that there is leadership, and there is mentoring, and there is selflessness. You show up when that fucking call drops, when that fucking tones drop, and you go. You don't know what you're going to, but you are prepared for damn near almost anything. And together, as a whole, you accomplish that. When life throws you a curveball, who do you go to that you can talk to without fear of being judged? And if you ain't got nobody, you better find somebody, because life, just like the fire service, you can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. They did away with the use of solitary confinement after X amount of time, because it's been proven that, you know, the human being is a social creature and they need social interaction. And solitary confinement drives people crazy, like unfixable kind of fucking crazy, you know,
Yeah.
Not crazy like an ex-wife, you know, although that could apply too, but I digress. Or ex-husband, I apologize. Okay. However that fits. So the ability to have people that you can bounce anything off of, because when I couldn't keep my mask on my face, as close as I was with the guys on my crew, I couldn't bring myself to tell them what I was going through. I would have rather been a fucking statistic than give that up. Now, had I shared that with them, fucking guarantee you, every one of those fucking guys would have worked with me to get past it. I know that, but I couldn't, you know, which brings us to stigma. Stigma is not what the rest of the world thinks. Stigma is self-imposed. It's what we think and how we interpret people are going to fucking react towards us. And so the conversation today is about, don't fucking worry about that. Fuck them. Let them think whatever they want. That ain't none of my business. What I think about myself is my business. You know, what you think about me is none of my fucking business. But the relationship, the opportunity for me to develop that relationship with somebody is very important. And you'll know the people you can do that with and the people you can't. Don't try to force shit that isn't there. You know, that's another one too. If this is mandatory, it's part of the class. Now you can give up some bullshit, you know, but the other people in that group, those, you know, Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta company, they're going to know. They're going to know if you're just doing surfacey shit. They're going to know right away.
Yeah.
You know, and where's that level of trust? Where's that bond come into? And that just means, it doesn't mean you're a chooch. It just means that you haven't evolved or matured to that point where you see a value in that. You still think you're God, and you ain't. That's why I pray every morning, to remind myself that I ain't in fucking charge, you know, because I really, you know, I'll step up. I would come home. How many guys, girls, people come home from work and they hear about the problems going on? First thing we do is go into solutions. Okay, well, we need to do this. We need to do that. We need to do this. I got my wife telling me, shut up. You ain't at the firehouse. I don't need you to fix that shit. I just need you to listen. And, you know, quite frankly, I sucked at listening. I still struggle with it at times, you know, but I know it. And I'll admit it, you know, I'll apologize. You know how many times I apologize in one day to my wife? Man, it's a lot, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But that just means we're both working towards the same end. You know, I love that. That's relationship. That's community and a bond within our marriage. You know, you got to have that. You don't have that, you know, because the temptations that go through my mind on an hourly basis is no different than any other man.
Yeah.
Don't think that anybody else is, you know, our society promotes sexual promiscuity, be it pornography or what they call it, the 2-county rule. You know, if you're 2 counties away, you're good, or 2 states away. There's all kinds of weird shit out there, you know. But those are the temptations of the world. Those are the temptations of the flesh. And that's where my relationship with God comes from. Because if I've got a relationship with God that keeps me fucking right, when I come home, I ain't got shit to worry about. And listen, we all get bombarded with it. None of us are perfect at it. That just doesn't work like that, you know. That's why I tell people, yeah, I know Ric Jorge, and I'm not impressed with him. No. And that's honest to God's truth. I am not the man I want to be yet, you know.
I think something to go off of what you're saying, one of the videos I was watching this morning with my son, you said something is basically, you know, at work, we show up, we solve problems, we make things better. It's just what we do. We're good at it, but we can't do that at home. It doesn't work like that at home. And I think that, and you kind of explained it just now, but that's hard. That's hard for us to have that transition, if not impossible, to be able to figure out, all right, I can't operate here just like I do there. Things don't work that way. And so I definitely think that it does cause a lot of problems for me and everybody else as well.
We haven't developed the skill set for that. And that's where that character trait. So in my department, to get hired, you have to have a high school education or a qualification like that, a GED, whatever you want to call it. And you have to fill out the application properly. You don't fill it out properly, you can't get your foot in the door. But then once your foot is in the door, you're vying on testing. Okay, so there's different kinds of tests. And then in the academy, it's the ability to be able to complete all of these tasks that they have told you and showed you. And that's what the academy is for. But when you look at promotional exams in my department, you got a stack of books, you know, we really don't even follow, with the exception of the contract from the union and admin, the contract that we have, and which they will take articles out of and be in the test. And then there is our SOGs, and there's some questions out of that. But the other books, it's just a matter of it's all academic. And there is absolutely, it's all cognitive. It's all thinking. It's your ability to be able to think through that. There is nothing that minds out the character of people. We don't do anything to promote the character or to reveal the character of people have. And non-cognitive testing has been shown to, it has a success ratio of being able to predict how successful somebody will be at a promotional position or a job, and that stuff's out there, but it's not widely used. There are some departments that use it and they're very successful at it, but it's really not, it's not out there. And just because somebody has that character and they're promoted and they're doing great, and then they do something stupid and they get demoted, then I'll see it doesn't work. No, people are fallible. You do stupid shit all the time, win stupid prizes, I mean, it comes with the territory, but we don't do anything to promote. We preach about, ethics, and ethics is nothing more than the science of studying morals, and so when we come down to looking at things like this, how valuable is it? Well, look at our divorce rate, look at our suicide rate, look at our substance abuse rate, look at the fucking ghost battalion that you have that's out on light duty because you hired people that really aren't even into the job or can't do the job, but you want to fill a quota or something. Fill a quota, have a fucking specific hire just for that quota and take the fucking top ones. Don't pass over people that are more qualified in a mixed group. That's ridiculous. There is, in our leadership, we've failed them. A lot of people referred to the greatest generation back during World War II, and the greatest generation actually lived from this. That's what we've gotten away from in our country, in our families. Once you tear away the family fabric, what example do you have about community?
Yeah.
Our men from the Middle East theater come back in the military, and they try to reacclimate, and they can't. But you take the child soldiers from freaking North Africa, and they go back to their villages when they're freed, and they're assimilated back into the village, and they're given a role. Everybody in the village has a role, and their value is there. They feel a part of that again, and so their incident of PTSD is almost non-existent versus ours, because there's a displacement. You can live on the same street for 30 years and not know who your fucking neighbors are. Our society is just disconnected like that. And so everything that we talk about and that we do in that class runs against the grain and contrary to all of that shit. That's the larger version of what we're talking about here. But, we're looking at a microcosm, the fire service, and then the transition into the family. But there's a whole societal aspect of this that hasn't even been addressed.
Yeah. And I think that right there is, man, that's another powerful thing, is that purpose, that what you have after whatever you got right now is gone. And going back to my conversations with your guys, that right there is Tuna's story. He can't be a firefighter anymore. That he is very, very honest and open about how that tore him apart, because that's who he was. And it took you saying, hey, you have a job here with me. That's your purpose now. Giving him something to do that he feels like that's what he needs to be doing. That right there shows us that people coming out of the military, people retiring, like you said, whatever, they've got to have that purpose. They got to have that community to fall into, or else things like what you're talking about, that's just the effect of it, because they're not a part of anything.
Yep. And we have not prepared them in school, in society, or anything else to be able to be like that. The only place you're going to get that, church. It's the only place that they talk about community, unless you go to a 12-step program. And then they talk about the group, which is the same thing, community and connection, and being able to share and honestly and not fear being judged, my pastor likes to say that this is a hotel for the fucking broken. That's what this is. Church is a hotel for the broken. And we ain't here for those that have got their shit together. You got your, you go do your thing, but it don't mean that they're excluded. They're welcome too, but he makes it very well known that this is a hotel for the broken, it's a hospital. It's a hospital for the broken, for the infirmed. That's what sin is. Sin just means you're doing it wrong. That's all, and you won't find that anywhere else. Our society is disconnected from that. Our goal is to kind of open some people's eyes about that, because that's how, number one, the development of resilience, which is what started all this, the development of making you whole. I talked about that earlier, bringing you back and making you as together as possible. Leads you to understanding that if it's happened to you, it can happen to anybody. And if it's happened to somebody else, you now have the education. God has qualified you to be able to help them. And what happens there? You create a bond, and you've created a small community. And that's essentially the whole message in church, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am, and so it's the same thing. And you'll feel it when you're talking to people and you're connected and you're helping somebody that's been through something that you've struggled with, bro. You could, there is a depth and a substance to that you can't learn that at school. You can't get a degree in that. That's an education that you learn from experience. And that's why we always say that experience should be the gold standard in the fire service. But if you combine it with education, now you've got something extremely powerful. But we go the educational route. And sometimes experience isn't isn't given enough credit. And other times we give experience too much credit, and they don't have the education behind it, the proper education. Yeah. I ain't talking about no fucking degree in underwater basket weaving or fucking contemplating the fucking lint in your navel and shit. I'm talking about legitimate stuff like we're talking about, the introspective stuff, the internal stuff, it's difficult. It's not easy, man,
Yeah.
Walk around your day and see how many people you say hello to. Everybody you say hello to, say, hey, how you doing, man? Hey, how's it going, bro? What's up, boss? How are you, Cap? And just talk to people, hold doors for people, blow their fucking mind. That shit don't happen.
Yeah. And I think something else that's important is just paying attention to yourself when you're doing things like that, because God is placing people in your life all the time.
Amen.
And if you aren't paying attention to what's going on, what is being said, what you're feeling, all that, you can just simply dismiss it as, hey, how you doing? Good, thanks, blah, 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 gone. But if you're truly paying attention, and this obviously comes in play more so with people that you have connection with, but you're going to be placed at situations on purpose. You are going to be, somebody's going to say something that you feel, man, that kind of sounds similar to what I dealt with or whatever. And I know how he feels or whatever, all these things, you're going to notice them if you're paying attention. But if you're not, you're just going to cruise by those moments and they're going to be lost. So paying attention to the surroundings when you're doing things like that is definitely important as well.
That's why the cadre is so important, because we can't miss those moments with the students. We miss those moments, we stand to have made whatever the problem was worse. That's not what we're there for.
Gotcha.
We cannot miss those moments. That's why there's 2 instructors with each group, because if something like that happens, they take the individual, they peel off, the other instructor keeps the group going, and then they'll bring them to me or bring them to Dave, and we'll sit down and we'll do whatever needs to be done.
Yeah.
And most of the time, almost every time, a very high percentage, 99% of the time, we can reframe whatever is going on and make them feel like they are not, you're not less than anybody. The experiences that this cadre has had covers an entire spectrum of fucked up shit, So these guys are part, fireman, part badass, part bartender, and part therapist, I mean, that's a combination that's absolutely necessary, because what you said is extremely powerful. It's very important. You can't miss those moments. You miss those moments,
Yeah.
they're fucking gone.
Yeah.
They're gone. And this class is designed specifically to not miss those moments, to capture them and to expose them. When I got a guy that's lost 80 pounds in a year just so he could take our class, 80 fucking pounds, bro. He lost 80 pounds. That's a small Guatemalan. Okay. He has lost an entire person in body weight. And to take the class, and he's sitting in front of this, and it's formidable. Okay. So he's in front of the entanglement. He's like, he ain't moving. And I'm like, Brett, what's going on? And he's like, man, I'm a big guy. I'm going to get stuck in there. I said, oh, you sure as fuck are. And he looks at me and I'm like, but do you think we're going to leave you there, bro? I said, here's the deal, Brett. You're thinking of every other entanglement class you've ever been in where they're like, figure it out. We're going to help you through it, because what we're here to do is exercise some demons out of you. This is a fucking ghost that's been haunting you for a long time. So you are going to be successful getting through this. And he was so anxious. He did it, but he was so anxious, he burned almost an entire bottle just to get through an 8-foot and 10-foot entanglement, which is formidable, but that's where his heart rate was, and he came through the other side. He just looked at me and he's got this smile. He's got this smile on his face. He's got tears coming out his eyes. And he's like, I've never completed one of these. I said, well, congratulations, bro. Today is your fucking birthday. Congratulations. You've just completed this. I said, and this is what it feels like to be able to complete something. I said, but more importantly, when you do it again, and he looks at me and goes, I got to do it again. I said, oh, fuck yeah, you can be doing this like 2 more times. I said, but now the next time you go through it, I want you to control the way that you breathe. You know that you're going to get through it now. That mystery is gone. Now I want you to control the way that you breathe when you go through it. And by the 3rd time, he ain't even stopping. He's dropping low.
That's
he's
awesome.
Moving forward. He's moving shit. He's giddy up. Those are the things that we want to help people overcome. That's the self-regulation that you're talking about, the self-care. Those things are important. That made him losing 80 pounds worth it. That blew me away. I couldn't believe that guy had that level of dedication to go there.
What's so crazy about that? Just that one little story right there is you said he went through it 3 times. You didn't really teach him any, the physical skills that you were teaching him to do that better were very minimal. Is that correct?
That's correct. We're not a tactics
tactics class. It was all
class.
mental. It was all mental. He had the ability to fly through it that very first time. But
Yeah, I
he
apologize.
had to
It's not a
break
technique
through.
class. That's right.
No, I'm just trying to make sure that everybody's clearly listening to it. He had the ability to do that, but his mind was the only thing in the way. And that was what, you had to sit there and break him from. And it's crazy to think that's us. That's everybody. We might not be the person that's 80 pounds overweight, but we have something. I guarantee you, I've been on for almost 21 years, and intermittently within those times, I have had times that I've struggled in a mask. And it's not because I wasn't used to it. It's just whatever isn't going on in my head causes it. And so
a lot has to do with,
deal.
A lot has to do with, so the way we frame it. So how old were you when you started in the fire service?
24.
How old are you now?
40, almost 45.
At 24 years old, you were able to do shit that you cannot do now. Well, let me rephrase that. At 24, you were able to do things in a way that you cannot do it now.
Yeah.
That is the normal progression of age. So age plays into this. You start going, I've done this a million fucking times. Yeah, bitch, but you ain't never been 45 before,
Yeah.
So everything changes,
Yeah,
and then you get the muscular guys, they burn more energy than just the average dude, so we have different ways of challenging people. There's different things that we do. We will limit them. There's ways that, we had a guy who was so fucking good that I had to take his dominant hand and tape it into a club. I said, there you go. You just broke your right hand. Can't use it anymore. I can't stop you from using it, but that tape is not going to allow you to articulate the fine motor skills that you've become accustomed to being able to get through that. So it shifted him into a whole other mindset. Well, he had to figure out something else on the fly, which is what many of these people, as they get older, can't figure out. Oh shit, I'm older. I never really knew how to breathe properly before. That's why these breathing techniques are so important, because I was so young before and so efficient. It didn't matter. I could do that shit wrong and still be successful, you know.
Yeah.
But in the end, it starts to show up. So with the guys that we challenge like that, there are little techniques that we utilize, you know, to challenge people mentally, because you're absolutely right, bro. 21 years on the job, and you've been going through 20 plus years on the job, and you're going through things and that is part of, that's the whole thing. That's normal. These are normal, what would you call them? Symptoms, normal symptoms of what happens as we start to age and still try to do this job that is so physically, mentally, and emotionally taxing that we think there's something wrong with us. There ain't nothing wrong with you. You're just someplace you've never been before. Yeah. And now you've got to figure that shit out. You know, I went and worked legs yesterday. Man, I used to be able to blow my legs up, destroy it, and still be able to go. I go train legs now. I'm done for the day. That's it. I got to work legs on days I can't do shit, you know, because I'm done. I'm wiped out. You know, I'll take a nap for 3 fucking hours and still sleep 8 hours that night, you know, and I'm okay with that. There was a point where I would look at it and go, man, what the hell's wrong with me? Well, you're 64 years old, motherfucker. What do you think? How'd you think you were going to react, you know? And so I it's not that I can't do things the way that I used to. I can't, but I already got to do those things. And that baseline is not the same as what it is now. That baseline is constantly moving. It's constantly changing. So those little aha moments like that, they'll get it in class. And the instructors have all experienced it. They're all aware of it. They know that when you take people's vision away, this much of your brain right here in the back, that much of your brain is utilized just for vision. So when we remove vision, the students are going to, especially later in the day when they're tired, you know, this goes on for 24 hours. We ride you like fucking Zorro the first 16 hours. We're actually doing the work, the real class, in the last 8 hours, you know. And it's those little things. Just remember, it's a normal reaction when your vision gets taken away, plus you're older. So you've got 2 things that you're combating in your brain. Don't fight that fight. Instead, the meditation techniques that we're teaching you develop focus and attention. And that focus and attention is what's necessary now. What are you paying attention to? Your ineptitude or your ability to be able to focus on the techniques that's necessary to get through? Your breathing, your body positioning, and your movement. Don't allow, you know, and stay situationally aware. That is a byproduct of being able to control yourself internally, to self-regulation. So all of that stuff, you're, and I apologize for interrupting, but that was very important what you brought up.
No, I just, all of this stuff is just, it just kind of gets you to the point of thinking, man, how do you do this job without being mentally in it and having all these tools that you're talking about? Because it's almost like these are so important, and it makes me want to learn so much more about it just because of that. If you have ever been that person that has had a hard time in a box or in a mask or whatever, you know what that feels like. It's a bad feeling. You're sitting there telling yourself, I'm literally safe. There's nothing unsafe about what I'm doing right now, but I'm freaking out. It's a weird place to be. And so to have those tools that you're teaching and that knowledge and just the recognition and being able to focus and all that stuff, man, those are lessons that are invaluable to the people out there that are getting it.
I think as human beings, we have a tendency of judging other people and what they should accomplish by our own personal experiences. what we don't realize is that there are people out there that have had things occur to them that are unimaginable to us. I've had a student who could not deal with intimacy and vulnerability. And it came out in the latter stages of the class. We talked for a fucking hour and a half. This guy he's like, man, I feel bad. I'm missing evolution. So no, they don't get it. I'm like, no. This is why we're here, to get past this block you got. This kid was raised, mother dies, so he has no nurturing. Father's a real hard ass, to the point that his way of disciplining him was, as a child, he would, there was a staircase that went up the side of a wall, and they have that little room underneath the staircase, the door for storage and shit. And he would fucking lock him in there and fucking padlock it. And he would lock him in there. He'd be in there for days. This kid drank his own urine. And he ate his own feces to survive. Now, that shit fucks with me because I can't imagine doing that to one of my kids.
Yeah.
But this man had gone through that, and this is what his struggle is. Now, in a million fucking years, I could never come up with a story like that. It's just not my experience. That is what his life looks like. And that's why we chatted for an hour and a half. Now, I've never been through that, but I think all of us can relate to being ostracized, to being intimidated, to being bullied, to being any of that shit, and what that feels like. Any circumstance, the circumstance is irrelevant. It's the ability to be able to connect. So when you use the word connection, it's actually very appropriate, because it's that ability to be able to connect with another human being who is suffering like that, who happens to share the same career track that we have. And we're trying to show him how important that is. And that now, as a man, he struggles with that level of intimacy because he was never taught that. And he's scared of getting fucking locked in a room again and having to suffer through that shit. And now his mind is, that'll never happen to me again. So he protects himself to such an extent that he will never allow even the slightest possibility of that to occur in his life again.
Yeah.
And as a result, he misses out on a lot of extremely valuable experiences. And that is one of the like extreme examples of what surfaces throughout this class. And we are by far no fucking therapists. We are there to make connection and create community and teach you how to be able to self-regulate and develop resilience. Resilience is the ability to be able to be stretched and then come back as close to whole as possible after you're stretched, and how to be able to recover, because recovery is a very, very important thing. So that's why we have Eric, and I don't know if you met Olivia. They just recently had a baby.
No, just Eric. Yep.
Yeah, and so they teach yoga for first. They have a company. It's called Yoga for First Responders,
Mm-hmm.
and so all of these instructors are very astute at the psychological aspect, the physiological aspect, and the ability for implementing solutions. Because we can identify problems. That's what we fucking do. We're great fucking problem identifiers. Not everybody has a solution for this, and that this whole class is about solutions. But it's the internal shit,
Yeah.
because you get the internal shit squared away, the external shit's gonna fall in place.
Yeah. You bring him up. It's interesting. After I got back home, spent a couple shifts just talking to my crew about, everything that I experienced, and telling them as much as I could about what I got from you all. And that was one of the things I was like, and there's this little scrawny guy, had a huge beard, just didn't look like.
We call him the Thin Viking.
Thin Viking. Didn't look like he fit in with the group. But then you put him in that yoga arena where he was the instructor of it, and it was like he was a different person. He turned into a scary person. It was crazy. It just, he had a fire to him because that was his zone. But it's just cool that it's just such a wide array of people that they have their things that they're going to be so helpful to everybody with. But that is the community. You're not going to get a community. If you want a community that everybody's like you, that's a miserable sounding place. That's not where I want to be. So that's the beauty of that community, man. To truly, first, you got to figure out what everybody is good at, what everybody likes, who everybody is, and then to dig into that and use it and just suck every bit of positivity and good out of these people. That's the true beauty of that community.
It is. It really is. And the instructors, if you want to reach out to them and interview them, they all have such a great story, but they will tell you that they learned so much from each other, and the experience is so invaluable. I learn from all of them. I really do. One of our guys, Willie, DNR. I'm not going to repeat why he got that name, okay? But it does not stand for do not resuscitate. He had a service dog with him, and the difference in him with the grounding that he has with that service dog this year as opposed to last year when he didn't have him. And not only that, it is his second class teaching it, but wow, he brought his A game today. That guy was on fire in Pensacola. So was Eric, and then Mark Mykowski. He's just, I don't even know what to say about him. He is such an oxymoron. The guy he is phenomenal, man. He is probably he's our emotional leader. He is, I call him the diesel, because he just this boom, 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 and he goes. And when he talks to you, he is so from the heart that it's like you just want to hug him. He just gets right to you, right to the core. So they learn so much from each other, and it's such a synergistic environment, and it's infectious when it gets to the students, because the way that they care for each other, they care for the students. We set the tempo from jump. The tempo's got to be set, and that's why, to go back to why the Airbnbs are so much more effective for us, for our cadre, because we're around each other and we get into this zone, and we're like, and now when the class comes on, they're just like, they're scared shitless. I mean, you read the description of the class, and I wouldn't fucking take that class. Fuck that. I'm out. Put me in a flashover can, I'm out.
Yeah.
And you walk there, and then the experience that you have is contrary to any understanding that you had prior to taking the class. And you understand why the other people that told you need to take that class, now you understand why they said that. It's I try to explain it to guys in a way that they understand. I tell them, I said, it's like, let's say you've never had an orgasm before. Never in your life have you had an orgasm. So, you got a guy that's explaining it to you, and, your jaw drops, and you're fucking, and it's the most amazing feeling. It's a full body thing, and blah, 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 blah. And you'll get it. You'll understand it, but you'll never know what it feels like until you experience it. And that's the class. I could talk to you all day long, and until you actually go through it, it's not just the class, it's the cadre. If it wasn't for the cadre, it'd just be another class. It's this is I am so proud of these guys. I love to be surrounded by people like that. I do. I wish we all lived on the same street. It would be amazing. We'd have block parties every night. Holy crap. Nobody would sleep. It'd be unbelievable. Cops would be hanging out and shit. We'd have donuts for them and stuff. It would be great, But, that is, it's one of those things. When you wrote that write-up that you wrote about experiencing the class, it really touched them because they got it. They were like, this fucking guy. They go, hey, did you read that? I go, who wrote it? I said, Jeremy. I said, he gets it. He gets it. What did he write? Then I read it, and I was like, I got to give that guy a hug, And it's because you get it, you understand.
Yeah.
You know, and clearly you're doing that with your company, your crew, at least the best that you can with the guys. Are they all receptive? Or have you got that kind of a crew with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I
I know
said,
I'm putting you on the
we're
spot
very,
because if
no,
there's,
no, no, no. I love talking about it, just like you, you are proud of your people and enjoy being with them. I'm proud of my crew as well. Like I said, we're very mixed personality wise and all that, but we we are with each other all day long. I've been on crews where you might see somebody in between meals, but you might not. But we are literally, from the time we get there till 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever time at night we go to bed, that we are together. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I love it. I love the fact that they embrace that that's what we are about. That is the culture that we've worked for years to create, and that's who we are. And so, yeah, absolutely.
it's a lot harder to do that while you're on the job than it is to do it from my position. I have, man, the first thing I did was invest in a bed that did everything but give me a reach around. This bed is so amazing. I can't wait to go to sleep at night. And the only time I get up after midnight now is to go to the bathroom, or let the dogs out to go to the bathroom. But I mean, it's a very different headspace. When you're on the job, it's extremely stressful. And to gain the position that you're at and maintain that with a company is difficult. It's hard to do because life is coming at you, and a lot of people. I talk about the stress of the job. The job is extremely stressful. There's a lot of pressure on us, bro. That's a highly technical field. It may not be reflected in the degree that you have educationally wise. It is an incredibly technical field. Very, very difficult, dirty, hard fucking work. And it will stay with you for the rest of your life. So doing that while you're in the game is hard. And it's even harder to maintain. It's Marcus Luttrell. I listened to him do an interview, and he said it's very hard to become a Navy SEAL, but it's even harder to stay one. That's the same way with being a fireman. It's hard to get to be one, but it's even harder to stay one, and it is, that's why we're big proponents that this needs to be taught on the front end while you are learning to get your certification. While you're learning to get your education to work into the fire. So in Florida, you have to go through a state certification, and there's a number of places you can go to, public and private places, but that should be the resilience aspect should be taught there right then, and then it should be supported through the career, because if not, we're never going to change those stats that we don't like. We're just going to be playing catch up, and you ain't never going to catch up, you know. And that's the kind of stuff that needs to be taught on the front end in order to facilitate what you're doing. So when you come into work, it's not something you have to do. It's something that the crew is expecting already, because they're already doing it, and they expect their officer to be in line with that, that's one more thing taken off the plate, and it would change the fire service. That's why, guys, early on when we were talking about resilience, it became a buzzword. People didn't even know what the hell resilience meant, when we started talking about it. And then we started incorporating meditation and all this yoga and all this other stuff and rumination and this. And those are fucking buzzwords now. Everybody's talking about that shit, and people are like, man, they're ripping you off. I said, they ain't ripping me off. That's like what needs to be discussed. This is going to take an army of people to change the culture of our fire service. It is the greatest fucking job in the world, but it could be so much more impactful for our people if we just manage them differently from the very beginning, and then allow that to filter into our hiring and our promotional process. But no, we're stuck on the word manning versus staffing. We're stuck on the word fireman versus firefighter. That's the minutia shit. That's the nomenclature There's a
Yeah.
lot of ways to express yourself, and that's micromanagement at its best. That's
Yeah.
somebody who's got an issue that needs to go see a fucking therapist to get their shit worked out instead of forcing it on everybody else. You know,
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I was thinking earlier, before we came on, that it is something that needs to change. The way we go about, just like for us as a department, we don't do any kind of physical evaluations yearly, or we have no set physical plan or anything. There's nothing to hold us accountable for that. There's nothing that checks us every year, nothing, because we fight against it. And it's like, I don't understand why we try so hard to fight things that are going to help us. I don't get it, but that's how it is at a lot of places.
because your mindset is this is to improve us. This will make us better. Other people are looking at it from fears. A, they're either going to be exposed for an inability to something, or B, it'll become punitive.
Yeah.
So if you change the mindset that, look, this is what's expected of you, and this is why. Here's the why. Okay.
Yeah.
So the why is because if you learn how to do this stuff and you take pride in it, here's the association with how it impacts your personal life. And this is the stuff that's missing from that. All of
Yeah.
that shit, Well, how's a physical, what do they call it? The PAT, what do they call that? Physical assessment. Agility. Yeah. So how is that going to impact me? Well, it's going to give you a baseline of what's expected of you and why you need to stay in certain shape. Okay. Because it's bad enough that the stress increases cortisol, and cortisol increases systemic swelling. Systemic swelling is directly associated with heart attack, and heart attack is the number one killer of firemen. So if we can get you in physical shape and help you maintain that, okay, that is one less predictor, right? You're still going to have that systemic swelling because of the stress and the lack of sleep and all that, but we're addressing them one at a time, and if you give them the why, and our company, bro, we were fucking stretched out for training almost every freaking shift. Almost every shift. We had to get on a list to be able to go to the training facility to do it. And then they were telling us we couldn't train on weekends because we were tearing shit up. Oh, fuck me, I mean, really? You would think your budget to repair shit that got torn up. How'd that get torn up? Guys were up here training. They're fucking animals. Look at them. They're fucking destroying shit. They're fucking into the job, man. They're doing stuff, No. It's you're tearing our shit up. You can't fucking use it. No, we can't let you use the treadmill. You guys are burning them out. What? Get the fuck out of here, really? So we created props at our firehouse. And we would fucking train there. We cut car hoods. We had a lock breaking prop. We had a pitched roof, a flat roof. We had all kinds of shit. We had, we did all kinds of shit. And then between us, at night, we would go to buildings that had had fires or had been abandoned for years, and we would go fucking bananas at night. We'd do searches with forcible entry, we'd tear shit up, and then we'd go fucking home. We'd pack up, we'd try to be quiet, we'd go home, and a chief would call, hey, you know anything about that building? No, sir, but we'll go by there if you'd like it. No, don't go near it. I just wanted to know if anybody knew anything about how the holes in the roof got there and all the doors were ripped off the hinge. Shit. And what he's saying is, I know you fucking guys went over be a little more, a little less conspicuous, but we had the mentality that was easier to beg forgiveness than it was for permission, and then we got smart. And after the fire, we'd contact the insurance company and we'd say, hey, is it okay if we go over there and train? Have you guys done your evaluation and everything? Are you guys going to level it? Yeah. Okay, cool. And we'd go over there. And then when the chief called, goes, hey, I know it's you guys. Yeah, chief, we talked to the insurance guy. He gave us permission to go over there. Here's his number, and the chief's like, we're making his life easier. So it's, and then, you get branded as cowboys, oh, you guys are a bunch of cowboys. Yeah. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, giddy up. Let's go. If that, I didn't realize cowboy was a bad word, but we did stuff together. We wanted to get better as a company. That same thing that same mentality, if we can dig into it and break it down and apply it to every aspect of our life in the different circumstances and stuff, is invaluable. And that's the resiliency aspect. That's what we were talking about. It's how this whole podcast started 2.5 hours ago, that where we develop the internal stuff, and it affects the external stuff.
Yeah. I could talk all day, and that, and I'm sure you could too.
Me
but
too,
as
of
you
course.
as you said it, we are kind of getting up there. So just to wrap it up, do you have anything else that you want to address or discuss or anything else?
No, I think we pretty much hit on everything. I mean, there's always things. My thought goes to what can I say to express my concern for the people that are listening to this, and how I want them to benefit and not run across the problems that many of us continue to have. But I don't know that there's anything else I can add to that.
Yeah.
I mean, you could post my phone number up there with the podcast when you put it up there. I'll give it to you, 561-239-1908. I used to give my email address, but I don't get on my email very much anymore. The best way to get me is through the phone. So you want to post that on there, we can talk to anybody, man. I love it. Are you going to be at FDIC?
Yes, we are.
Are you going to be at
I'm
Mass?
not. I will not be there. No. But I will definitely be up in Indy for sure.
I'll talk to you more about Atlanta. I was hoping that you would be there so that you could actually sit in on the complete class and see if that's
well, we might have to talk about that then.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Cool. So that being said, so is the registration still open, or are you already full there?
I'm not sure. The class fills up quick. It does. It's only 20 students. It's not the class is so fucking wildly popular. It's only 20 students, man. Somebody's like, okay, that's different. And they sign up. And that's typically what happens, they're not expecting the class that they get.
So what else do you have coming up kind of that about here?
I'll be in Indy from Sunday to Saturday. We're going to have to catch a ball game either Wednesday or Thursday or Friday night. Mark Weiss was a guy that I got we were both diagnosed with cancer at the same time. He had pancreatic cancer. We were going to make ball games every year, but he never made it back to Indy. It killed him in September. And mine was a surgical cure. So I was very fortunate in that. So in his memory, we go to ball games when we make it out to Indianapolis. But after Indianapolis is Atlanta. And then after Atlanta, I believe I'm in Texas in June. And then I'm going to screw this up. I'm in Wichita and Milwaukee. Also
Wichita hot?
Later on. Yeah. No. Into the job.
Into the job symposium. Okay.
Into the job symposium. And then I'll be in Milwaukee. It's a full event.
Okay.
And then there's something else coming up. I can't remember what it was. But it's Do you have events? Go ahead. You know what retirement means?
Apparently not. You're done.
Retired just means you're tired again.
Retired.
Yeah. It is.
Do you have a web page or anything that has events coming up on it that
we
people
do
can
have
look
a
up?
web page, and Dave Gillespie's going to kill me because I can't fucking remember what it is. I think it's Tactical
I might
Resilience.
have it pulled up here.
It's a .org, or I think it's
Let me look it up
.org.
real quick so he doesn't get mad at us.
He worked so fucking hard to put that thing together, and I just don't do anything with it. And I feel terrible about it, but that's the stuff we got to start uploading things to. I may have it in here somewhere. And then there's always the Facebook page. The Facebook page is Tactical Resiliency Training. And then I am opening up I've had an Instagram page, Tactical Resiliency Training, for a long time. I just never utilized it. So I'll build that. And that's the only things I really got. I mean, YouTube under my name, but You can find videos on there, all kinds of fucking videos under Ric Jorge,
All right,
Jorge.
I got it right here. Here we go. Oh, sorry.
Go.
Jorge. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's all right. Go.
Tactical-resiliency.com. That's the website.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, and like he just said, and I interrupted him. That's what we were watching this morning, me and my son. YouTube, lots of great videos out there, some fire engineering training minutes, and lots of great stuff out there. So anything else you want to share or anything?
No, man. No, man.
Right.
When do you get into Indy?
We'll be driving up Monday
Okay, good.
night. Yeah.
Wednesday afternoon, we're doing a mental health thing with the Fallen Firefighters Foundation. Dan DeGrice is hosting it, and Rob Maloney's the videographer. There's 3 of us up there. I have no idea. I'll be the guy in t-shirts and jeans. I'm not a dress-up guy, you know. So you're lucky I got a fucking shirt on and not a tank top. I'm in Florida. I wear baggies, tank top, and flip-flops.
I don't blame you. Yeah.
But I'll see you in Indy, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll hook up. We'll freaking burn some cigars and go freaking eat some food and stuff. Go catch a ball game.
Sounds good. Well, man, I appreciate your time so much, your friendship and everything else you do for me and everybody in the fire service. So thank you and love you, man. Look forward to talking with you again.
Love you too, brother. God bless you, man.
See you.